Joining me now to discuss, Max Chafkin, Bloomberg Businessweek journalist and host of Everybody's Business podcast, and Brooke Masters, U.S. managing editor for the Financial Times. Okay, the stock market is obviously not the economy. Markets are going to open in 10 seconds from now. But what's your take on these numbers?
I mean, inflation is up. The economy is good. I mean, there's a lot here to feel good about, especially considering all of the uncertainty, the tariffs and so on. But I think the issue is we're going to see interest rate increases at some point, and that's going to have implications, across the economy.
This number only includes the first month of the war. So what's your take?
I think it's going to go up, but then it's probably going to come down again because we're seeing oil prices come down now that the tankers are starting to go through the Straits of Hormuz. But what that means is we've just seen prices go up, and they're not going to come down. They're just not going to keep going up. What voters are going to see is things are more expensive than they were before this war.
Now, with this inflation report, investors worry that the Federal Reserve could, to Max's point, raise rates. We all know that President Trump desperately, aggressively, clearly wants rates cut. After he refused to sign this bipartisan housing bill, he said that lower rates should solve everything when it comes to housing. Come on now, that's not the case.
No, for sure not. One of the reasons housing costs are up is that there's no construction workers because of the immigration crackdown. And inputs are up because of tariffs. Every refrigerator that comes in and gets put into a new house is more expensive. It's not going to bring housing costs down completely. Although I will say mortgage rates are incredibly important. They're
incredibly important, but housing supply is hugely important, right? There's a Zillow report said that in a whole bunch of cities, $1 million is the starter home price. We're not going to solve this housing supply issue overnight. And in fact, this bill that Trump refuses to sign gets rid of so much red tape. And what kills me is you hear from Republicans year after year, and they're right. There's way too much red tape when it comes to home building. This would solve yet, though he's standing in the way.
Well, there's been also this tension with Trump for the last few months where he's saying, on one hand, we need to make houses cheaper. On the other hand, we don't want homeowners to lose the value of their homes.
This is an amazing point.
A lot of people, yes. A lot of middle-class people, wealthy people, a lot of their wealth is tied up in their homes. And so there's this kind of tension between lowering home prices but also protecting the wealth of people. And that's why the only answer for the Trump administration is lower rates, because lower rates allows people to, spend more money on homes and also further inflates the value of home prices. So I think that's why he sees it as a solution. It's not really a practical solution because as long as inflation is high, it's going to be very hard for the Fed to listen to him, no matter what he says, no matter what Warsh wants to do.
Let's go back to oil prices for a second, because at the end of the day, this is why the president is ending the war, because the amount of concessions he's giving Iran, especially as it relates to nuclear capabilities, none of it helps the American people. But his idea is we got to lower gas prices. That's what's hurting America. And oil prices, gas prices have dropped, but they're not as low as he wants them to be. And he's now blaming oil companies. Watch this.
The gasoline or the oil prices have come down so much, and we are not seeing anything at the pump by comparison to what it should be. We should be, in my opinion, at $2.25 right now at the pump. And we're higher than that. And we are doing a big investigation on it. Yeah, they're not reducing the prices commensurate with what's happening. The oil companies are possibly gouging. I hope they're not. Otherwise, they're going to be in big trouble.
A big investigation for fact's sake. The last time gas averaged $2.25 nationwide was January of 2021, when we were still right in the middle of COVID. That said, what do you make of the president's comments here?
I mean, blaming the oil companies is actually a standard Democratic trick, so it's kind of interesting that he's grabbed it. I have to say, given that the Justice Department and the FTC basically have been cutting people, I don't know who's doing this investigation.
Oh, this is a good point. Who's going to actually do it?
Yes. Yeah. And it is, I think the reason gas prices don't come down as fast as he'd like is, it's going to take a while to reposition all the tankers that, there were 500 tankers hanging around waiting to go through that strait. And eventually they'll come through, and there will be some dropping of gas prices, because in the U.S., because we have relatively lower taxes, you do see gas prices quickly. On the other hand, it's hurricane season, so one good hurricane in Houston, and the prices go right back up again.
Any chance Trump threatening or haranguing or bullying these oil execs, any chance it works?
I think it could work a little bit. It seems like Trump has had more success pressuring big companies, big executives, partly because a lot of them supported him. I think he has, he has this kind of transactional quality. I am sort of curious to see, and I do wonder, one of the reasons, we haven't seen huge price increases with tariff hikes, others coming, if some of that has to do with politics. So perhaps the political pressure will work. But the thing is, when we went into this war, anybody who follows the oil industry knew gas prices were not going to come down instantaneously. It takes a long time for the oil to get refined, for it to go into gas pumps. And the fact is, these gas stations that bought gasoline have paid a lot of money. So they need to sell down their inventory before they can sell, they can lower prices.
Last point to you.
I would say, this is classic expectations. Stock markets move on what's going to happen, so they react very quickly to news. Real prices are based on what you paid for the inputs and what it costs to get whatever it is, whether it's your pancakes or your eggs or whatever, to the place you're buying it from. It's going to take a while, and I think prices may at least moderate and possibly come down on some things, but not in the next 5 minutes.
Well, in the next 2 minutes, the markets are in the green, so the markets like the numbers they heard this morning. Max, Brooke, thank you both for joining me this morning.